Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome you all. And yes, where we were reading about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yes, I made many videos. So if you are first time in this video, you can go and check out my other part of the video. And I think I am in that chapter of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I completed a little bit. Now today I'm gonna start about this Muhammad is a God's final messenger. Okay, before I start, let's read this prehistoric. I think I'm not reading them yet. So yes, I will read this pre-Islamic religions and all. So let's read this page number 21, 20 and 21 together. So first is you knew nothing of the book or belief. Quran 42, ayat number 42, 50, 40, 50, 42, 52. Surah number 42, ayat number 52. Okay, fine. So yes, in context, al jahiliya, a time of ignorance, al jahiliya theme, and when and where it's published in pre-17th century in the Arab Peninsula, and before that, first century BC. The Roman rule extended over the eastern Mediterranean, including the Arabian Peninsula. 3rd century, the Middle East is dominated by the Byzantine and the Persian Sasanian Empire. 5th century, the Waris, the Quraysh. Okay, so the Quraysh are the actually the ruler. Quraysh tribe take control of Makkah and its shrine the Kaaba and turn the city into the thriving mercantile hub, attracting both pilgrims and trades. After 5070, because Prophet Muhammad born in 570 BC. So the birth of Prophet Muhammad in Makkah and member of the Quraysh tribe, the final prophet who unites the Arab tribe under a single God. So yes, and now let's move on. Okay, why not? Now the single most important concept in Islam is the individual oneness of God. So God is one, oneness of God, and in other word, monotheism. In other word, monotheism. This is the concept upon which Muhammad's entire faith rests. When Muhammad first began preaching the mission of Islam in 1613, it was the central idea of oneness that served to bind his followers together. In stark contrast to his message, the Arab tribe at this time were divided and leaderless, weak, and worshipping multiple gods. In the words of Quran, those were gods that could create nothing, were themselves created, which can neither harm. An Arabian Peninsula in the era of Mediterranean before Islam was political vacuum franked by two great worlds empire, with the remain of a one great civilizations to the south. Byzantine Empire, Sasanian Empire, Arabs are there, and here is Saba and Majun. Okay, now let's read about this part, page number 21. The Prophet uprooted the practice of Jahiliyyah by one. Abul al Maududi. Okay, so yes, let's read this one again. Okay, so here we was continuing. So in the word of Quran, those were gods that could created nothing and were themselves created. Actually idle. They are nothing and they themselves and were themselves created. which can neither harm nor help themselves, and which have no power over death or life. So in Quran it's clearly mentioned that he have no power for about death and life, so he is not God actually. Before Islam, the Arabs were said to be living in al jahiliya, the time of ignorance, and pre-Islamic power. In the centuries immediately prior to the birth of Muhammad, the Arabian Peninsula was surrounded by the citizen Byzantine Empire to the northeast and Persian Sasanian Empire to the east. Those two empires titan were locked in a power struggle with each other. In the south of the peninsula, rich and fertile Sabah, Yemen was one of the oldest center of civilizations in the region, which a complex history, but by the 16th century the one great kingdom had broken apart. Between those three powers stretched the vast swath of central Arab, which was predominantly harassed desert. Its spread population was made up of nomadic Arab tribes who were constantly at war with no with one another and eked out a living by controlling the trade routes that crisscrossed the region. Pre-Islamic religion. Communities of Christianity, Jews, and Zoroastrian exist in Arabs prior to the 17th century, but the desert Arabs were generally mistrustful of those religions, which they associate with the imperial power, while the Arabs had little time for or no formal religion of their own. Their allegiance were to their individual tribe. There were peace they consider holy. Those were the sites of shrines linked to particular deities. Among the gods the worship were the high god Allah. Actually, here is the photo. You see the marble altar to the goddess Al Lat. Despite whether with her scared lion is dated to the second century from the temple of Bel in Palmyra, Syria. So his daughter of the goddess Al-Lat, Al-Uja, and Al-Mannat, and one notable shrine devoted to Al-Ilah was the Kaaba near the well of Zamzam at Makkah. By this time, many Arabs had given up the nomadic life. By the 14th century example, two tribes from Yemen had started at the oasis of Yathai, which would later become known as a Median, where they took up agriculture. A tribe known as the Quraysh and settled around Makkah. By the end of the 15th century, they engaged in the trading and stock breeding and created the thriving city of great wealth. However, according to Islamic historian, what the tribe lacked was any real moral and ethical way of living. This would only change after Muhammad began receiving revelations in the early 17th century of the undertaken in his missions of prophecy. So this is all about in this video. In the next video we will talk about Muhammad is God's final messenger and many more. So thanks for watching and keep watching.